It's a beautiful day outside, isn't it? I see the mayor.
Uh-oh, he's watching us. Hi, Mark. I see your eyes. I see your forehead.
Your Honor.
Lisa
has joined the meeting.
Mr. Heck is there.
I'm here.
Good to see you. Almost.
See you too. I'll figure this out here real quick.
I think we're the first city meeting to do this, aren't we, Jeff?
There we go.
Yes, you are the first.
Okay, so we're the guinea pigs, but we get extra brownie points.
Who else is on here?
Lisa, Beth.
Oh, that's Chris Jones. Hey, Jeff.
Rutherford's here.
Okay, there we are.
Daniel's here.
Yes, sir.
Rick Jones is here.
Amanda's here, but she's being quiet.
Amanda, you're just a silhouette because you have the light behind you.
Yeah, I thought about that. I could do this. It's not so bad.
There we go.
Yeah.
Where people can see my face.
I'm only on the phone, so you can't see me.
Is that Lisa?
It is.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Hey, Lisa.
Hello. How are we?
Good.
Good.
Jeff Wyko, are you close to recording?
I have begun recording and I've begun streaming.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll call the April 6, 2020 meeting of the Greenwood Board of Public Works and Safety to order at 5:30 p.m. I want to welcome all of you to the inaugural attempt to have an electronic meeting. We're all doing this individually electronically. So if there are ever any questions, please stop us, ask us, make certain that you can hear or you can see whatever you need to see. We're doing this pursuant to executive order from our governor that allows us to conduct these public meetings by electronic means. And so we're hoping that everyone has appropriate notice. I know all the applicants have been given notice, and others who might have an interest in addressing the board have also have a link that they can try. So let's go ahead and Amanda, let's do a roll call, please.
Mr. Hoover?
Here.
Mr. Colvin?
Here.
Mr. Rutherford?
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. First thing on our agenda is the minutes of the regular session of March 16, 2020. They've been distributed to members of the board. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions from staff?
Paul Pioni.
Has joined the meeting.
Move for approval. I'll second.
Mr. Rutherford moved for approval, seconded by Mr. Colvin. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's a unanimous vote. First on our agenda then, after that is 1187 Derby Court, Lot 48, Alden Place. This is an encroachment request, and the homeowner is Chris and Amy Matai. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
That's pretty close. Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Chris, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Tell us what you'd like to do. We have, I'm not sure if you can see, are you on video or just phone, Chris?
I'm on my phone. Yeah.
Okay. We have a drawing that's been presented to us. And I presume that this is information you shared with our administrative staff.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And Daniel, we have this memo from Brock. It has 5 conditions on it. Anything out of the ordinary that we need to be brought to our attention?
No, not. Yeah, this is Daniel. No, not at this time. I guess, Chris, if you could just confirm that you did receive that memo. It was probably sent to you within the last hour. We're just starting this.
Yes, yeah, I did receive all the information. Yes, I did.
So Chris, that has 5 conditions on it. On the
Yeah,
first
I don't
page.
have any. Yeah, I'm okay with all the conditions that are written down. I have no problem complying with what you guys requested, so I'm okay with it.
Shan or Jeff, Colvin, are there any questions or comments you wish to make?
No, I'm good.
I don't have any comments. It looks like there's 2 utility lines, 2 lines indicated on the plot plan, and he's going to stay out of those, so I'm fine with that.
Is there a motion to approve this encroachment request?
So moved.
Second.
That was moved by Mr. Colvin, seconded by Mr. Rutherford, and I'm assuming that's pursuant to the 5 conditions in Brock. Here's the memo, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Daniel, is there any information we need to give to Chris before he gets off the horn here?
No, there's no additional information to give.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you very much for your participation. You are our first guinea pig.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Next on our agenda is 1308.
Chris Matei.
Has left the meeting.
Next on our agenda is 1308 Old Market Square, Lot 114. Again, another encroachment request. The homeowners are Dave and Maggie Paramsky. Would Mr. or Ms. Paramsky be available?
Can you hear us?
Is that Dave?
Yes, this is Dave.
We can hear. This is Kevin Hoover. I can hear you. Shan and Jeff, can you also hear
Yes.
Mr. Paramsky? Okay.
Yes.
Dave, we have some materials that have been given to us by our staff. And one of those is a memo that we hope you have received within the last hour or so. Have you received that?
I did receive something from Peony at 4:49.
Yes. Sorry for the late delay. But that first page has 4 conditions that should the Board of Works grant your request that we would be asking you to comply with. Do you see those 4 conditions?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'll turn to you, Daniel Johnston. Again, anything from this project that we need to make particular attention to?
Sure. No, for the most part, those are some of our standard conditions. Mr. Paramsky, I would direct your attention to condition number 1. We checked the as-built from when Greenwood Station Section 4 was designed and constructed, and actually along that back property line in the swale, there is an existing 6-inch sump pump under drain buried, and so we are asking that the fence be at least 2 feet away from that 6-inch under drain pipe. It actually flows along that 76-foot the full length of that property line in the middle of the swale.
Okay.
Questions or comments from Mr. Rutherford or Mr. Colvin?
No, I'm fine. I'd move for approval with those conditions.
I'll second that.
That's Mr. Rutherford moving for approval, subject to the 4 conditions, seconded by Mr. Colvin. Any further discussion?
This is Dave. I have a question.
Certainly.
That drain, is it right in the center of the two properties? How is that located?
Right. This is Daniel again. That's going to be, I guess, for you to confirm that. Those are all private pipes. These are the under drain pipes that are used to convey the sump pumps, outlets, and then I think maybe 3 or 4 properties to your south or to your west, and 3 or 4 properties to your east as well. There's an existing inlet in the swales there that those under drains actually tap into underground to drain all the properties' sump pumps. So you can certainly get there with a shovel to identify. Those should have gravel. They've been encased in gravel when they were installed. You'll be able to carefully expose those to identify where it is. Most likely the center of the swale is where that goes.
Dave, did that answer your question?
It sure did.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion then, say aye. Aye. It's a unanimous approval then. Okay. Thank you, David, Maggie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is a public hearing. It's going to be conducted with our Corporation Counsel, Sam Hodson. So we will open the public hearing now regarding a disposition of real property, a utility easement at 3032 East 750 North. Mr. Hodson, I'd like to turn this over to you now for discussion.
This is disposition of property that's going to be used on a county road project. State law required us to take competitive bids, despite the fact that Duke was the only plausible bidder. Duke was the only bidder, and we're asking the authority for from the Board of Works to enter into a contract with Duke to convey the easement. I think about $6,000, subject to review of the contracts by the city attorney.
6201 was the contract I've got in front of me, Sam. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Hodson? Is there anyone from the audience who wishes to address this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing. And then we'll have we'd ask for a motion to approve this bid proposal from Duke Energy Indiana LCC.
So moved.
Second.
The city attorney requested that you include in your motion recommending the acceptance of that to the city executive, which is the mayor. If you're willing to put that in your motion as well.
Yes, I am.
Colvin, you made the motion. You approve
Yes.
that? And Mr.
Thank you.
Prescott does as well. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next on our agenda, Mr. Wagner, I see your face. We're going to talk about homecoming at University Park, Section 13 first. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
All right, great. All right, well, this is pretty standard to what we've done many times in the past. On this one, we are coming in to get the acceptance of the asphalt surface on the roads. So we're asking for acceptance of that improvement, release of the performance bonds, and acceptance of the maintenance bond for the asphalt surface in homecoming section 13.
And the only condition recommended by staff was the receipt of the Mylar and digital as-bills and review and approval of those by the engineering department.
All right, Joe, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, those got delivered, I think, on Friday.
Okay, we'll still leave them in the motion if
Fine.
that's okay, and just make certain it gets taken care of. Any questions from the members of the board?
I'll
I
move
would
for,
move that we approve homecoming at University Park, Section 13, with those conditions.
second.
That motion is by Mr. Colvin, seconded by Mr. Rutherford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Right.
Motion passes unanimously. Doug, you're still up for section 14.
Same situation here. We did the surface on homecoming section 14, so we're asking for acceptance of the improvements, acceptance of the maintenance bond, and release of the performance bond for that asphalt surface.
And again, there is the same condition regarding the Mylar and digital as-bills.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Rutherford moves for approval, seconded by Mr. Colvin. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Joe, I assume those were turned in as well?
That's correct.
Okay.
Then we're going to go to Chateau at Woodfield, section 4, and that stays with Mr. Wagner.
This is an erosion control situation where we had the final erosion control punch list completed. So we're asking for acceptance of the erosion control improvements, acceptance of the maintenance guarantee, and release of the performance bond for Chateau Section 4.
Daniel, I assume that's it's consistent with what the staff is recommending.
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, I'll move for approval then. Is there, subject to that condition, is there a second?
I'll second.
So motion by Mr. Hoover, second by Mr. Colvin. Further discussion?
What was that condition?
To accept the erosion control and to release the guarantee. Well, I guess it really wasn't it's an unconditional approval, Doug. I'm sorry.
Okay. Didn't hear what the condition was. That's why I was questioning.
We could come up with something, I think.
It's so rare we hear these something that we assume there was something. Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks. And Doug, you have one more.
Ooh. This is similar to Chateau 4. Again, it's the erosion control for Chateau 6. We've gone through final punch list approval. So looking for acceptance of the improvements, acceptance of the maintenance, and release of the performance.
Appears to be certainly almost identical to section 4, what we just passed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a
I'll
motion
move for approval.
Mr. Rutherford motions.
Second.
Mr. Colvin seconded that. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Motion passes. Thank you.
I do have, so typically, and I thought I heard Paul's name come up. I don't know, Paul, are you on this call?
Yes. I don't.
He just didn't want to admit it.
I know what I'm doing.
Just got to talk, Paul. I just heard your name announced when you came on, so I thought you were on the call. My only question is, typically we come in and sign off on these sort of things to get these bonds and stuff. Paul, are you going to, I do want to try to get these performance bonds mailed back to me so I can get them officially released. How do we go about doing that?
Well, if I mail them to you, can you sign a copy and send the copy back?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. That works for me.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks, Doug. Have a good evening.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Next, we're going to move on to Mr. Heck with Cherry Tree Walk, Section 3.
Joseph Heck, Projects Plus, here representing Arbor Homes, seeking the acceptance of the improvements of Cherry Tree Walk 3 and execute the plat, accept the plat, accept the maintenance bonds and the performance bonds on this project.
Joe, have you seen Paul Peoni's memo of today's date?
I have not.
It appears that the only condition was a recording of the O&M manual for water quality and then receipt of that original recorded document by the Stormwater Department.
I think the O&M manual was delivered last Friday for signatures, and we're waiting on when the O&M is ready to pick up and record. That might be delayed a little bit, so I'm not sure how the recording process is now.
Yeah, that's a good question. Daniel, is that consistent with your understanding?
Right, that it needs to be, definitely that it needs to be recorded. It may have been turned in. I know we received a number of documents for this project, and
Could we do it where we record the O&M and the plat? The O&M first, then we'll record the plats, and then they could just get them both back at the same time. We did that in the past.
say that again?
Could we? Are you gonna have the plat signed today? But can we record the O&M and then reference it on the plat, then record the plat? That way they're both recorded. The O&M's recorded before the plat.
Right, so the board members are in the process of coordinating how they're going to, how they're going to get all the various documents and plats signed.
Right.
I can't promise they'll be.
Joe, we're going to attempt to do that, to sign whatever documents from this meeting that we need to sign tomorrow. Can't tell you when, where that'll happen, but that's our intention anyhow.
And we'll figure out how to get it picked up and get them all recorded.
Yeah, I think if you contact with Daniel and Amanda to the extent there needs to be, the legal department, that'll sort out in the wash.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Joe. You've got another one, the
I
retreat.
got another one here. Yep.
Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Time out. You talked me into being too sloppy. Are there any other questions for Joe regarding Cherry Tree Walk Section 3? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Colvin moved and Mr. Rutherford seconded to approve, subject to the conditions set forth in Paul Pioni's memo. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Now, Joe, let's go on to the retreat.
This is for Arbor Homes also. Retreat Section 1, acceptance of the erosion performance bond. We need to discuss future road closure and detour route. I know the erosion is probably pretty simple, but I think we can get this approved by the board too, to be able to close down Combs Road for a period of time so we can get that realignment constructed.
Can we do that? Let's do the erosion control issue first and separately. They're asking for a motion to accept the performance guarantee for the erosion control. And I think the staff is recommending that. Is that correct, Daniel?
Yes, that's correct.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rutherford, seconded by Mr. Colvin. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Now tell us about the road closure issue.
Well, with this project, the city is wanting to take those 290s out along Combs Road. So the thought is to close all the traffic except to the homeowners along Combs Road, just to keep public out of the way so they can get that road built as fast as possible. I think they plan on about a 4-week closure, build that realignment. And then the detour plan basically detours them, up Graham or over to 5 Points, around Combs Road. That's the plan.
Okay. Daniel, anything unusual about that?
Nothing unusual. In the memo, there are 4 conditions. Actually, the first 3 were kind of taken off of Joe's letter that he supplied. And I would have one slight twist. I don't know if it's necessarily a new condition, but I think there also needs to be some coordination and informing the Johnson County Highway Department, just because they are responsible for part of Combs Road, and they also have jurisdiction on 5 Points. So just some coordination with their department as well.
Okay.
Probably notification to public service, police, fire.
And that would certainly be part of our city processes, which would in turn notify them as well.
Okay,
There are several homes there along the top of that. Bob Robinson lives right on that corner, and he's 93 years old. He needs to be notified, probably in person,
Okay.
so he doesn't get too confused.
Can pass that along to Arbor for their construction coordinator.
I'd be glad to go with him.
Yeah, that's a good thought, Shan. Thank you. Don, I guess Don and Julie could be maybe help in that respect as well.
Sure.
Any other items from the Board of Public Works that you guys wish to address on this matter?
Did he say specifically when or just 4 weeks? Is that leaving it open to?
We don't actually have a hard deadline. It depends on when construction, I guess, really gets started. But they're looking at about a 4-week window that they would have to close it.
Alrighty.
We actually don't know when. I guess that's the thing. We would give the CDS and engineering department a notification ahead of time, probably 4 weeks ahead of time.
That's something you coordinate with them on normal circumstances anyhow, right, Joe?
Yeah, the construction from Arbor's construction manager will do that.
Okay. Any further questions for Joe? If not, is there a motion to approve the road closure detour route?
So
I would move to, yeah, I'll second.
Who, I couldn't understand, who moved?
Shan moved.
Mr. Rutherford moved and Mr. Colvin seconded that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously. Thanks.
Thank you, board.
Good evening,
night.
Joe.
You too. Thanks.
Next on our agenda is the time when we ask the audience if there's anyone from the audience who wishes to address us. Is there anybody online who wishes to address the board? If not, we'll go on to Mr. Hodson with the IDAM compliance plan status update, which has been distributed. Anything we should take special note of, Sam?
No, all's well with IDEM.
Great, thank you. First on your agenda is consideration of Strand Amendment number 2 to Technical Service Agreement and Task Order 20-01.
Yes, this is the work for the capital improvement project plan, part of IDEM for Villa Heights and Mercator.
To note for the record, Shauna did get with Strand and has worked out the typographical errors. That was finalized this afternoon, so we should have the final document hopefully in the next couple days. So that doesn't need to be conditional, if you're so inclined to approve.
So are we looking for approval of the task order as well as the amendment to that? Or is it just the amendment, Sam?
No, just the amendment.
Okay. Any questions for Sam about this matter? If not, is there a motion? Well, I'll make you talk. I'll move for approval of amendment number 2 to the agreement for technical services.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hoover, seconded by Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay.
Except for me is consideration of contract for services, reliable construction. This is for temporary storage for the BPW building project.
We're installing a fuel tank. Is that what this is, Sam?
This is, no, it's for temporary storage for the DPW building project.
No, I think this one was for the above ground storage tanks they're going to put in instead of underground.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got, my information was incorrect. You're right, Kevin.
Okay. So we're putting above ground fuel tank at the BPW facility at a cost of, one of them is 54,000 some change, one's 39,000 some change, for a total of 93,325. Is that correct?
Correct.
What's the purpose of the change?
Sam, could you hear him?
Are we just saving money? Is that why we're going with above grade?
Yes.
Part of it is that, but it's also related to the insurability. The age of the current tanks has made them nearly uninsurable. So taking the opportunity while we're redoing the DPW to put in above ground will give us the ability to insure them at a much cheaper rate.
We won't have the environmental problems.
I apologize, but who is that speaking?
This is Sam.
It's Greg.
It avoids the environmental problems of
It was
below
Greg?
ground
Okay,
storage.
I didn't recognize Greg's voice. Okay,
I'm sorry.
other questions? Pleasure of the board.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Colvin, second by Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion?
That's for the
None, all in
mayor to
favor?
sign.
That's for the mayor's signature?
Correct.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously, okay?
Next up is ratification of the 2020-2021 health insurance contracts. These are the contracts that became effective on April 1st. The reason why it's ratification rather than approval before signing, there was not an opportunity to have the contracts reviewed in time to make your meeting prior to April 1st.
And I assume Lisa's there as well?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Any questions for Lisa or for Mr. Hodson? So these are the contract for renewal contract, the key benefit. Are there significant changes, Lisa?
No, there aren't any changes. The fees are still the same. We're staying with the $2,700 max for the medical FSA and $5,000 for the dependent reimbursement for dependent care. We just have this in there since we had some changes within our benefit summaries for the medical portion. The vision portion has stayed the same. The dental portion has stayed the same. We just had some copay adjustments within our Anthem medical and prescription summaries.
So is there a motion to ratify this approval of these contracts? This agreement?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rutherford, seconded by Mr. Colvin for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you,
Next up-
gentlemen.
Thank you, Lisa.
Next up, I'd like the board to consider the phase two.
Has left the meeting.
The Phase 2 Western Regional Interceptor GMAX contract with Bowen Engineering. I believe it was circulated today.
Yes.
This is a contract to complete the Western Regional Interceptor project. It's for $37.3 million. And Bowen is the contractor that completed Phase 1.
This will complete the project, Sam?
Yes. And the project is required by our IDEM consent order.
Right. Questions for Sam? No, I will move that we approve the guaranteed, or the contract with Bowen Engineering as presented.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hoover, seconded by Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Last thing on my list is consideration of the all-in painting contracts for 333 South Washington Street. This is the old Public Works building, or the current Public Works building that will be replaced by the new one.
No, this is for the old VFW building.
Thank you.
That's what I had, yeah. And the total price on this one is $12,890. Is that correct? Sound good?
Yes.
Further discussion?
I'd move for approval.
That's Mr. Colvin.
Second.
Mr. Rutherford, second it. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll go to Lowe's Boulevard. Our police training building.
That's part of the same contract with All In.
It's two separate, we have it as two separate contracts.
Okay.
And the total on this section of it is 7668.
Correct.
I'll move to approve. Mr. Rutherford moved, Mr. Hoover seconded that. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Sam, thank you. And thank you, while I'm on here, just thank you for your assistance in getting this unusual online situation set up for us. We appreciate that. Daniel, let's go to you.
All right, I've got 4 items on the agenda plus a walk-on, although I don't know if a walk-on is the right phrase for this type of a meeting here over WebEx, but I'll get to that. The first is Store a Lot. This is in the Greenwood Trace area, south portion of US 31. Looking to acknowledge dirt work, storm, sidewalk, and street improvements in the public right-of-way, still in satisfactory condition, and release the 3-year maintenance guarantee for the same. And then a unique aspect of it would be for the board to authorize a finance department employee to sign the request and authorization for release of escrow funds on the board's behalf. This particular project did have escrow funds, and so that is our recommendation for that.
And the additional issue is raised by COVID-19, is that correct? Or is that just another?
Requesting to authorize a finance department member to sign? No, that's because that's the city's policy when it comes to the release of escrow funds. When we've done this in the past, I think the city controller has signed off. I know these are fairly few and far between for these type of guarantees, but
that's what I was asking. I didn't recall having had that issue before. Okay. What is the pleasure of the board on this?
I'd move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Colvin, seconded by Mr. Rutherford for approval. And I'm assuming that is including the direction to coordinate with the finance department and the MBI.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Project Elk.
Next is Project Elk. This is to accept bond riders for dirt work, storm sewer, erosion control, streets and sidewalks. So on the screen there, you can see there was a revision made to the project during construction. So that's why we have increased this with using bond riders for the bonds. The southern portion of the southern property line, that'll actually be a road extending from Collins Road to the east for future use and development. And these are performance bond riders for that work.
Questions for Mr. Johnston? Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
We'll give that one to Mr. Colvin and seconded by Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Next is Cherry Tree Walk, Section 4. Here, this is just accepting the performance guarantees for erosion control, to accept and execute general and sanitary sewer inspection and testing agreements, and to ratify the acceptance of 50% upfront fees.
I'll move for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Who got that?
Jeff. Give it to Shan.
Okay. Mr. Hoover moved. Mr. Colvin seconded. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
And then my last item on the agenda, I still have the walk-on. This is the 2020 hot mix asphalt material bid. think Mr. Duncan is on the call, or at least I saw his face in the little pictures
Kenny,
earlier.
I see him. Kenny, can you hear us?
Smile, Kenny.
So this is to cover asphalt material that may be used by the street department on projects between May 1st of this year and April 30th of next year, 2021. So the motion is to authorize city staff to prepare bid specs and advertise for a bid for the 2020 hot mix asphalt material bid.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
Yours, Shan.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rutherford, second by Mr. Colvin. We didn't even make Kenny talk. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And then,
Well, there you go.
There we go, Kenny. Good to see you.
and then
Good to see you.
my walk-on item, last item, it's a operations and maintenance manual. This is for Ray Skillman Ford project for their dry detention pond. Stormwater Department has reviewed and approved. And so the request, I think the way we have phrased these before is that to be accepted by the board and also to authorize the mayor to sign on the board's behalf this O&M manual for the Ray Skillman Ford detention pond project.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Huber, second by Mr. Rutherford. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Greg, are you there?
I am here. I do have one item this evening.
Okay.
Guidance from the State Board of Accounts that was given to us was to have our boards and commissions pass something in their minutes to allow the president to get permission to release the checks for payments that are on the docket until we get back to normal and they can all be signed. I would ask that the board have a motion approved in its minutes to allow Mr. Hoover to get permission to finance to release the payments that are on the docket until we can get those signed in person.
And would that be, is that in addition to approving the claims?
Well, it would be, since we won't necessarily be able to get them signed right away, it would just be giving us permission to go ahead and mail the payments. So my thought process was that we would give time for everyone to review and ask questions. And then if there were no issues with it, go ahead and get permission to release those checks. And then once the docket is able to be signed, the claims are able to be signed, we would have everybody sign them. I know you guys are planning to come in and sign some other things, but some of our other boards and commissions don't have as regular meeting, or we may not be able to get everyone in to sign things.
Okay. Yeah, I just just trying to avoid some extra steps for you, but if it doesn't create any problems, I don't have any problem with that. And I don't care if it's me or, since the Board of Works doesn't really have a president. What's the pleasure of the three of you, of us three guys?
I'm in agreement with that.
That's fine.
Okay.
Kevin can sign it.
Greg, do you need a motion, or do you just want by consensus that we're going to do it that way?
I think just the consent in the minutes was all we needed according to State Board of Accounts.
Okay. Well, let's make it a motion. Shan, will you make that motion?
Yes.
And then Jeff, you'll second it?
Second, yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, and that way Amanda can get it in our minutes. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Nothing else, Greg? Thank you. Okay. We still left something for you to do, Shan. It's your turn.
I'll move for the approval of claims.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Well, thank you all for participating in this. I think it went fairly smoothly for I know my nerves are feel a little better than they were.
Me too.
I
I
was
was
Did an
nervous.
excellent job.
I was nervous
I want to
about
thank
hooking up
Amanda for
this.
getting us through this. And Molly, thank you if you're still on there for your help in the graphics and videos. That was helpful. Seeing nothing else, we'll stand adjourned at 6:11 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kevin, all of you.
If you're all still there, just so you know, I'll send an email around